I would like to welcome another cast member to Millennial TV. Thank you to Lauren Alex Hooser or Alex H or Hoosie for joining us today. How should we
Yeah.
address you? Should we
Yeah.
call you Alex,
I
Lauren?
know, the one with many names.
Yeah.
For the sake of this, you can call me by Alex H, but my like legal formal real name is Lauren Olson. But I know it's so confusing, but yeah, you guys can call me Alex because that's kind of the purpose of everything today and who
Yeah.
I once was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. You were in so many episodes of the show, and I feel like even though we saw you in so many like episodes, we never really got to know you besides being like Kristen's really funny and loyal best friend. So we're actually really excited to be able to talk to you today and kind of get to know your experience on the
Yeah.
show. So we'll start off with asking, how did you get cast on the show? Because we saw you in season one, but did you officially audition for the show in season one, or how did that
I
come to
didn't
be?
have to audition. I became part of it again just because I was Kristen's friend. And I think given as the show developed, I think the producers saw that Kristen kind of needed someone to talk about Steven with or whatever the situation was. So Kristen and I were actually very close. So I was already in her realm. So when she would start filming, it was just natural that I was there. So yeah, I did not have to audition. I just kind of showed up and started filming with her to kind of fill in that gap. And then just kind of became titled, Kristen's best friend. But I think because I didn't audition, or not because, but I didn't really have much of like juicy storyline for myself. So I kind of just remained in that realm of Kristen's friend, which I was fine with. I didn't really feel like I needed to become like anything more than that. Like I was definitely a little bummed not to be a main cast member, but I also like now looking back, I'm like, oh, I was kind of just like doing my own thing anyway, and didn't really have a lot of drama with any boyfriends or anything. So yeah, but to answer your question, no, I did not have to audition. I know like Steven, Kristen, Lauren, Conrad, I think Alex Merle. I know that there was like a round of auditions that happened in season one. I don't know if there was for season two, but there was like an audition process in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from talking to Alex and Taylor, they were saying like they never really had to audition either. Like it was the producers knew them and kind of
Yeah.
offered, the roles to them. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's what I recall. Yeah, because I think by season two, it kind of naturally came out like which groups of friends hung out together. So by the time, Steven's class had graduated and they went on to season two, they saw that there was like some cliques with different girls. And by that time, they were just able to kind of tell who they wanted to have involved.
I feel like you got the best possible scenario. Like you didn't have to audition.
Yeah.
You didn't really have like that main cast drama, but you were still in so much of the show and people still know you and you're still so iconic. So you got like the best edit.
Thank you. Yeah, I do. I like my role. Like looking back, it's like super fun because I think I was just kind of there like whimsically and just there for the good time of it all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't really have to like drag on anything that I didn't want to or have any like negative impact, I guess. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So kind of like tagging on that about like being in the main cast, I think you were going to be like in season 3 or anything, like carry on over to that with the main cast thing?
I can't, let me think. I did like an episode or two for season 3 and I was with Jessica, I believe, because she was still dating.
Right.
Yeah. Dating, yes.
I have to go back like 20 years at this point.
Yeah.
But so I did 1 or 2 episodes with her and just being, the friend that I am, like asking about how that's going. But we had graduated and moved on at that point. I didn't have any friendships with anyone that was in the season 3 cast. Like we knew them, of course, and we had been to parties with them socially, but it wasn't like it was like a natural thing to just keep going with them.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just felt different too, not having it be like based around like our circle. But I mean, I was always in full support of being involved and seeing it
Mhm.
grow and the opportunity and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about the two love triangles on the show? So the first being Lauren, Kristen, and Steven, and then the second being Jessica, Jason, and Alex. Like, how was that navigating that and kind of being friends with everyone in those scenarios?
Mm-hmm. Well, high school is so tricky anyway, like cameras aside, there's gonna be those random, like, this girl likes this boy and then this girl likes him too. Like it happens, I'm sure, for everyone's high school experience. And it's never pleasant to be caught up in one of those. But I definitely would say, like, from my perspective, the whole Stephen, Lauren, Kristen dynamic was definitely more reinforced because of the show.
Yeah.
And then same with the Jessica, Jason and Alex dynamic. But I do think that obviously there were real feelings involved. So, it was like not fun to like go and film and then see it, what was being said, and, after the fact. But I think at a certain point, everyone involved knew what was going on. So, you kind of like play into that. But it's like we were so young too. Like there was definitely real feelings on the line there. Especially when you have these like producers who are like these, like, we were 18 and the producers were probably like in their late 20s, 30s, some in their 40s, like telling us like what's going on and what to do. So we're like still kids listening to these adults kind of like tell us what to do. Like looking back, you're kind of like, oh my God, they just wanted to like stir stuff up and get information. But I mean, at the
Totally.
end of the day, they were making a TV show. So, we were just young and vulnerable and, went with it.
So you're shown to be very level-headed and calm throughout the show, even as drama, like we said, was happening like all around you. Do you think that that was accurate as to how you are as a person, or did you have to like play a part or tone it down for the show?
No, I think I was pretty authentic. Maybe a little bit more shy because I definitely, in the beginning, when there's like cameras in your face, it's kind of invasive. So I think there was times where I just was like kind of more not myself, and I would just get more internal and shy. And then towards the end, or there's certain moments where I just like probably play more into being kind of like a brat and, into that role, especially when, we're being sat down like, okay, here's you and Jessica are sitting on the beach and you're going to talk about like boys and drama. So it's kind of like you could easily get sassy. But generally I think that's who I always was and I still am. And, but yeah, no, I always felt like I was just trying to be reasonable. Like I just wanted everyone to get along and be friends. But sometimes that can also get you caught up when you're trying to be like the middleman and get everyone to get along, especially high school. Feel like there's so many strong feelings where it's like, well, if I don't like that person, you can't either. So if you do, I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
trying to like not be in the middle of it can get kind of messy. But now that we're all grown up, I think, no one's as petty as we used to be.
So around the middle of season 2, speaking of that sort of thing, like we do see you and Alex M make up. So we were wondering what happened between the two of you and if your makeup was organic or was that more encouraged by the producers?
Yeah. Well, Alex and I go back way before Kristen became our friend, because Kristen moved to Laguna, I think like when we started freshman year of high school. So Alex and I had been friends since basically the beginning of middle school. And so we've always been super tight and we still are today. So I think when everything happened, I kind of latched on to Kristen and her world given the show. And it just became kind of like me and Kristen and Alex and Taylor. And it's like, it's so silly to look back on it now, like why we couldn't all just be friends, but it's the way that it happened. And like I was saying before, it's like, well, if one girl has an issue with someone, it's kind of expected to be like a team. And, again, we're all guilty of it. But yeah, I hate that. Like I look back and it makes me so sad. Like what a waste of time to like sit around having issues with someone. But no, I mean, for me, again, from my perspective, when we sat and reconvened and had our conversation, like that was genuine. Like I genuinely really missed having her as a friend in my life. It just felt like it was like hard to do, being like Kristen's best friend and
Right.
trying to like, you know, again
Yeah.
with the show and all those other influences, it's kind of like you weren't supposed to be best friends because the show didn't want it to happen. So I think maybe I played into that, but yeah. So yeah, that it was definitely organic, but it was also set up by production.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that,
Yeah.
like, as a result of the show coming into your school, like, it kind of naturally divided, like, understandably too, like, groups of friends, you know, because you're like, hey, why are you filming with that person? Or like, oh, that's not really how it is. Like,
Or
why
like,
are
I
you
Yeah.
saw
doing
what you
that? I
said about me
guess.
on season 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. There was definitely some moments where you're just like, I can't believe I said that, and it's
Yeah.
out there. It's, you know, because it's again high school. Like we all were drama. We all talked shit. Like we all were just brats,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
so, and then you know, and we're living in this beautiful beach community, a wealthy community. So there's this expectation to dress cute, have cute clothes, have a nice car. So you throw that into the picture on top of already being in high school and navigating like just, you know, growing up and becoming your own. It was just a recipe for a lot of drama.
We always
So.
talk amongst ourselves like we could not imagine having our high school experience on television or even filmed. So, I mean, it's craziness that you guys did that and went through it,
Yeah.
and that you're all still intact at the end of the day is like pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was an experience for sure. Like when my kids grow up, I mean, I'll support anything they do, but I would like, even just with Instagram and everything being so public and out there, I'm like,
Yeah,
I would just want them to stay true to themselves and not get ahead of themselves and enjoy
absolutely.
the moment and don't feel like they need to be anything else they don't want to be, like all that, you know, stuff that parents say that, you know, kids don't listen to. But
Yep.
yeah, it was crazy. And like, even with that, like, I can't imagine if social media was around back then
Oh my
and how
gosh.
that would
Yeah.
have impacted, you know, the situation. I'm kind of grateful it wasn't around, because I feel like, you know, for like someone like me, like I can become very insecure and very internal very quickly. So I think I could have just like gotten like totally like, because even back then with MySpace and everything online, like there would be accounts where it would just like, not Reddit, but forms of like forums online, and they would just like tear you apart, and it's so mean, and you just don't understand because they don't even know you. So I can't even imagine what like people go through today. But yeah, it was interesting, and I'm glad that we all came out of it like okay.
So we talked a little bit about how you were kind of like on the sidelines and not a part of the big drama, but we didn't ever really see you date anyone on the show. Were you dating anybody kind of subtly in high school that we missed out on seeing?
Yeah, I had boyfriends off and on up until my junior year. My senior year, I didn't. I always tend to date boys that were older. So by the time I was a senior, you know, we're the oldest class. And a lot of the boys at that point want to date the freshmen, just like I dated a senior when I was a freshman. But no, yeah, I had boyfriends throughout high school. Prior to when the show really started, the last boyfriend I had when like season 1 was filming was like a bad boy, but like kind of sad. Like he just couldn't get his stuff together. So, you know, there was no way I'd want to even like bring that on there, but I also wasn't like a main cast member. So there was an opportunity to, you know, have that be highlighted. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of just towards the end, yeah, I had no interest in dating in my grade for some reason.
You
Like,
were having fun.
yeah, I was enjoying it for sure. Yeah. And for me, like a lot of, like personal stuff started happening my junior, senior year. My parents separated and there was some other family drama happening. So my focus was just like, not even like school. Like it was like doing the show, being with friends, like figuring out what we're going to do after. So I think for me, like going and dating someone, like it just was not like, it wasn't a steady place for me to be.
Too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Actually, back to what we were talking about before with like growing up in Laguna, we always talk about you guys going to Cabo, and we can't believe that
So
you guys
bad.
went to Cabo with parents, some
Mhm.
parents. What do you think about that now? And now that you have kids, like, what would you say if your kids wanted to go on a spring break crazy party vacation like that?
Oh my God. I can't even believe it. Like at like the age of like 16, 17, 18, like going to Cabo and like fully partying, and it's like terrifying. I can't
It
believe
was a
we
dream. All of
um
us were
I
so
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
jealous.
it's so fun, but like I cannot even believe like we are lucky to have like escaped alive in some situations. But yeah, no, it was kind of the common thing like growing up in or like going to Laguna Beach High School. Like during we had like a winter break and a spring break, and like not Christmas break, like there's Christmas break, but then winter break was in February and then spring break in like April, May. So winter break you would go to Mammoth and go snowboarding. Spring break you go to Cabo, and it just was that way. And like I have an older sister and an older brother, and that's just like as family trips, that's just what you did. So it was a very like natural, common thing. So it wasn't like out of the ordinary. But as you get older, like I think the last trip I did to Cabo with everyone, we were seniors. We went just without parents because we were basically 18 at that time and we were adults. So, um, which again is insane because that's still so young,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
going out there and like getting into bars and
Yeah.
drinking.
Mhm.
Like it was insane, but so fun. Like obviously so fun. But for like me as a mom, I obviously know like when my kids go to high school, like what's going to happen, but I want to be involved. I want them to be able to talk to me. I want to like just
Mhm.
know, I want them to have fun but be safe. So I think I'm going to just try really hard to be a safe place for them to be honest about and not feel like they're going to be scared or get in trouble if I find out what they were up to. Because yeah, I feel like a lot of like my behavior was like just I didn't have any accountability, so I just went out and did whatever I wanted. um which is fine. Like I was somewhat responsible. I wasn't like terrible, I think. But yeah. But yeah, I can't believe it. Looking back, it's just like we just look so little. We're like, who were
Mhm.
we thinking we could go out and act that way? It's so bad. But yeah.
Well, as someone watching the show like a few years younger, I'm like, when I get to high
Mhm.
school, that's what my
Oh
spring break is
no.
gonna look
Yeah.
like, and it did not.
I
So,
know. See, I guess like for kids, you all grew up in different places as well, and so
Mhm.
for you, like, what was your spring break like? Like, were they family trips or going away? Like, I feel like it was just this. Like, I feel like growing up in Laguna, you're always so advanced. Like, you're always so ahead of yourself, trying to grow up
Mhm.
faster, and you just get exposed to more things like sooner than the norm. Where I feel like possibly in other, parts that you're just kind of like really living and you're like truly just being a 18-year-old, like not trying
Mhm.
to be 21. I could be wrong, but
We talk about this all the
Yeah.
time because,
mhm.
like, my spring break was literally me at home, like, playing The
Yeah.
Sims. Like,
Mm.
I was definitely not going to Cabo.
Mhm.
But, like, I had friends who went on, like, family trips. Like, I grew up in California. I only
Mhm.
recently moved to Pennsylvania. So, I grew up in Northern California. So,
Mm.
my friends, their parents would take them to, like, Palm Springs or, like,
Mhm.
something, like, a little different, but not mine.
Right, yeah.
yeah, same. I feel like my spring break was just like sitting at home and like hanging out with my family for the week and
Yep.
just
Mm.
like chilling. It wasn't it
No.
wasn't super
Yeah,
eventful.
So we're all, like,
Same.
yeah.
also
Yep.
fascinated.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds so nice. Like I that's what I want. Like with my kids, I'm like, we'll go somewhere as a family, but
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
also just chill out. Like
Yeah.
no one needs to go crazy. But yeah, I had always assumed that because I again, like look growing up now, like when you're in the moment as a teenager, you think that's just what you do. It's a normal thing to be like, oh, we're going to Cabo or we're going snowboarding and that's just what we do. But it's normal for you in your perspective and in your world. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's times like I look back, like obviously I love the experience and like I have a beautiful family, like no regrets ever. But there's times I'm almost like, man, it would have been nice to just like grow up in just more of like a not as wealthy of a community and just have like more humble bearings and like a solid foundation, because it's like to have to keep up with all of that as a teenager is like
It's a
so
lot.
stressful. Yeah. And, you know, for me, my family kind of fell apart towards the end of my high school years. So it was like, it was embarrassing and I felt shame. And like, you know, we went from being like, it's kind of like when the glass walls fall down. And this wasn't like ever on the show or anything. It was just more that happened, not privately, but like it did happen. And like, obviously, like my close friends knew, and it was like the stuff that was going on. So sometimes I'm like, it would have been nice just to be like small town and just be like a kid through it all and not have to like feel so, you know, you have to try so effing hard just to like get by.
Yeah.
But I mean, it again, it, you know, you're put in the situation and you do your best. And I think every kid in high school can probably relate to that no matter where you are. So,
Yeah.
For sure. What was it like for you when the show ended? What did you do? Where did you go to school? All
Well, I
that.
thought I was famous. So I moved to LA with Kristen initially. And, you know, her career had already started to take off. So I was definitely somewhat riding her coattails, but she was still my good friend. So I was just like kind of enjoying the ride. But then it gets to a point, I didn't go to school, so I didn't have any, you know, savings. My parents didn't have anything aside for me to go to school with. So for me, going to college was never in the picture. And that started from like my sophomore year. Like it just wasn't for me. Could I have focused differently? Yes, but I didn't. But yeah, so I moved to LA with Kristen, and then just kind of hung with her for a while and tried to figure out what I was going to do. Her and I had a bit of a falling out. Nothing like major. It just got to the point, I think she was going in one direction and I wasn't on the same path and same level. So I eventually moved into an apartment with Alex Merle in LA. And for a while we did some appearances. So we would just like travel the country and show up at nightclubs or colleges and just do like meet and greets, which was so fun. And that paid for, you know, that paid its way for a while. But then, you know, just like reality TV, it's like once those 15 minutes are up, you know, it's literally like the brakes come screeching to a halt and you're like, oh my God, I actually have to do something now. So
Yeah.
after that, so yeah, I just kind of flopped around for a while. I just couldn't really like figure out what I wanted to do. I had to really figure it out too. Cause again, like my mom had moved to Hawaii. My dad wasn't in the picture. So for me, I was like had a point where I literally was like couch surfing with friends and just like had like nowhere to go. I was like, I felt like such a waste of space. I was like, wow, I'm such a loser. Like I need to get my shit together. And then after basically hitting like my version of a rock bottom, I moved to Hawaii where my mom had lived. And I was able to like get my foundation and get my bearings there because I just felt so lost from after all of that happening. So once I moved to Hawaii, I got a job, met a boyfriend, got friends. So I just kind of rebuilt my life there and then eventually met who is now my husband and had a family. And now we live in Santa Cruz now, but yeah. So what, 15 years later, it all worked out.
Yeah.
So you went from Laguna to LA to Hawaii to Santa Cruz. That's pretty intense.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
Always
much.
kind of by the beach though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, were you, Kristen, and Jessica as close as the show portrayed you to be?
Yes, I would say we were. I would say we definitely all were close, but given the show and the situation it put us in, it kind of like drew us to be more of like a tripod of friendship. I would say in the beginning it was like I was like friends with Kristen like before filming. I was friends with Kristen and friends with Jessica like more independently. And then again, like we all hung out in the same circle, but so, you know, everyone was friends, but given the show, I think it created like the trifecta.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
So would you say that like you kind of brought Jessica into the group, or were Kristen and Jessica friends independently as well?
I think probably like a little bit of both. Yeah, I think I definitely was like friends. Feel like I was closer with Jessica in the beginning. Again, like pre-filming and everything, like even for like a couple years before. And then we all became friends, and then we all kind of like within, each other developed a friendship like with one another.
I had a group of 3 that were best friends like that in high school too. And sometimes it's so hard to balance it, but I feel like you guys were such true friends. Like you guys really stuck by each other. And no one was ever like the odd one out. So that was nice to watch on television, like having that kind of like group dynamic, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because whenever there's 3, I feel like it can be like 3's a crowd. Like there's bound to have like one person feel left out, or 2 latch on and one's, not included as much. But yeah, I would say with us 3, like that wasn't ever an issue. It happened with other friendships for sure.
Yeah.
But it's that age of high school where you're just, the cattiness can come through, and it's not like you do it on purpose, but I think it's just part of like evolving and being a teenager. And, you're left out one week, and then the next week it's like you're buddies with them. And, you all just kind of do it to each other in a weird way. But yeah, I would say the 3 of us never really had, like, it wasn't ever like a thing. I'm sure there was moments where it kind of happened or 2 people hung out more, but it never felt like anyone was left out, at least from my perspective. I hope not. If anything, it would probably be me or Jessica left out. Like Kristen was always kind of like, she was like the queen bee in that situation, and not in a bad way. She just had that kind of personality.
When we talked before, you had said that you shared a story on Instagram talking about some of the stuff you were going through when filming the show. And we thought it was such a really powerful story and was something that people could relate to. And we were wondering if you'd mind sharing that story again and kind of telling us how it affected you when you were filming the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So within that story, and it wasn't like a big thing, like I'm not some influencer or whatever, so didn't like make headlines. But for me personally, it was the first time I had revealed that during high school, and it started pre-filming and then, went on after that. But yeah, my dad got into some legal trouble financially. So he initially was arrested and had to spend some time in jail. But then eventually he was able to be on house arrest and have like an ankle bracelet monitor since, he was my father. So he got like the work release. But so that was something that was never really shown on the show. And it wasn't anything I really highlighted to producers or anything either. So, if I would have gone to them with my story, I'm not even sure that's the direction it would have gone in. But at that time for me, being like 16, 17, 18, it was known with my friend group. It was public throughout the whole school because there was like a blurb put out in the local newspaper. Like it wasn't like no one knew anything.
Yeah.
But and it was pretty like traumatizing sounds so heavy, but like looking back, it was pretty traumatic.
Oh yeah.
But again, I think at that age, you just focus on like everything else,
Right.
and you're already like, I feel like there's already a sense like no matter what's happening as a teenager, you're just like heavy family drama stuff. You're just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, let's ignore it and let's go party. I want to be normal. I want to have fun. You don't want to like be that person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was wild because as I'm participating in this show that's depicting these lives of, privileged teenagers, like living this life that looks like incredible. For me, like under, in the background, it was just like my family was falling apart.
Huge thing.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. And I feel like it would have been like interesting to have it out just to see like what kind of feedback could have provided, and just to normalize like families and, shit happens to everybody. But again, like I held it close to my heart at that time, and I didn't think it was relevant to like put it out there. And again, I don't even know if the producers would have wanted to go in that direction.
Right.
Mhm.
But I mean, they had to have known, because when they would come to my house to do certain scenes, my dad would be there and he would fully have this like ankle bracelet on, and I wouldn't tell him to go like
Mhm.
hide or anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure it was known, but you know, my role was to basically be Kristen's friend, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's what I did. And yeah, it worked out in the time. And you know, there was like a lot of like, so that happened to my dad, and then my parents decided to separate, so it was like kind of a snowball effect. But
Mhm.
aside from my dad's legal troubles, there was like a lot of kids in high school dealing with like parents separating or other kind of family
Mhm.
situations. So it's not like it wasn't a unique thing. I think it was just interesting at being the extent of it, and then almost having like two lives, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know I shared this with you before, but I'll just say it again. My dad had his own issues as well. It was before I was born, but it was something that my sister had to deal with and kind of come to terms with. And, you know, after I was born, he got into church and things changed and for the better. But it would have been really nice to see that on television and watch somebody else go through that kind of situation, because I was always like, I didn't want to tell anybody like about, you know, that happening or my dad having been in trouble or anything. Like, so it would have been nice to be like, oh my God, somebody else who like lives this crazy, like perfect life, like had something like that happen to her too. So I'm kind of bummed that the producers didn't want to show that in any kind of capacity, because I feel like it would have helped a lot of people because it, you know, things happen. You're like you said.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's,
definitely.
yeah, it would have been, yeah, I don't know how it would have taken, but again, I think I was like just immature at the time. So who knows if it would have even have been like healthy for me mentally to put it out there.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I wish. I think it's also just something looking at it as an adult now, like for you, as well, Candace, like looking back, it's so much easier to say like, wow. And I wish I could have asked more questions or done this or that. But I feel like you gain that with age.
Yeah. Your brain isn't fully developed in high school.
No. Yeah. But, and I think, and again, like I don't have some huge platform, but even just sharing it here with, you know, the outlet you guys are providing, which is so cool. Like if it can reach one person and help normalize something that someone's gone through. Yeah. That's like, for me, that's like, when I shared it, I was like, well, you know, hopefully it's like someone can like either relate, which is like, I hope not, because it was shitty, but at least it can just normalize it, because you know,
and like,
when you go
you
through,
turned out fine, I turned out fine, we're all okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm fine, right? No.
I'm like, am I okay? Am I? The therapy bills say something else, but you know, it's fine.
Right. But I do think it helps to just be like, with anything you go through, like process it. You know, you can keep things close to your chest, but eventually it's okay to like, for me, it really helped when I just started to just be like very transparent with it and not ashamed or embarrassed or, you know, think I was going to lose friends over it. Cause it's like, well, then that those people wouldn't matter if they had a problem with like what was going on.
Exactly.
And even in high school, I did, you know, got treated a little bit differently by certain people. But again, at that mind, you're just like, I don't care. Let's go party.
Yeah. I feel like it would be way more stressful and like a burden on you to just be holding that in all the time too, but rather than just like letting it be known to everybody.
Yeah, it is. And after a while, you know, you got to let that stuff go, or else it'll come out in different ways. So,
right. Yeah. It's crazy to me that during filming, like there was no indication that anything was going on like that behind the scenes too. Like, I just think that's wild.
And you were so like happy-go-lucky. Like you were like the girl that was down to party, like down to have a good time. Like you never showed any like that you were going through anything crazy like at home. So like, I mean, you were the girl that everybody wanted to be, you know? Like, just the, like the party girl, the fun girl, like
drama free.
Drama free.
Like the goofy friend on the side, just like
And you were always so. My favorite thing about you on the show is you were like everybody's hype woman. You were like,
Mhm.
every time somebody's like, oh, I feel so ugly. You're like, no, you're beautiful. Like, you're always
Yeah.
like, you were always like, no, you look so good. Like, you just feel that way
Mhm.
because you're stressed. Like, you were just that person. Like, and I'm always like, God, she was such a good friend. I wish I had that in high school.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was pretty like, I wanted to have fun. And I mean, I got wrapped up in the drama too. I definitely had moments where I was a bitch. And I hate that though. Like, whenever I felt like I was being rude or a bitch or catty, like, I immediately would feel it and be like, oh my God, like, that's not me. I don't even like
Mhm.
know how, but you just get caught up with it, you know? And I think piggybacking off of like other friends and their
Yeah.
attitudes.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think I was always kind of just like the silly, goofy, like, like
Yeah.
odd friend, not in a bad way, but just like I was a good kind of wing woman.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to describe you.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm.
So when you moved to LA, you said that you first lived with Kristen and then you lived with Alex M for a little bit. And then when we talked to Alex M, she said that you guys were all living in the same complex as Lauren, Heidi, Audrina when they were filming The Hills. So did you guys ever hang out all together? And did they ever approach you to be on the show at all?
Yeah, well, we did live in the same complex, so it was like
Mm-hmm.
like a condo complex, like pretty spread out and big. So it wasn't like it was like one building.
Yeah.
And we would see them like in passing. We would see them at clubs or events that we would go
Mm-hmm.
to. And for the most part, it was friendly, but we weren't like close where it was like we're calling and texting and making plans. We would just kind of happen to like brush by them and say hi.
Yeah.
But when they started filming The Hills, you know, they were on such a different program doing their own thing. And for us too, until Kristen got involved with The Hills, which was later, but like with Lauren and Heidi and everything, they were like the grade above us. So we, even
Okay.
through high school, like again, same social circle, same party, same friends, like we all mingled, but it wasn't like we had grown up being friends like you do with the people in your
Right.
grade. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely saw them around town, and it would be trippy to like see them like coming off of just literally doing a show, like
Yeah.
filming with them essentially, and then they were kind of just
Doing their own thing,
continuing it
yeah.
on. Yeah. But I think like they were probably maybe like sometimes embarrassed to be seen with us because they were trying to like separate themselves from that. But it's Hollywood.
Funny.
Everyone's full of, you know, kind
Yeah.
of ego,
Yeah.
and you
Oh,
think
yeah.
you're hot shit. Like I did too. And we're so young. So it was just like,
Yeah.
it was really fun though. Like the LA times were super fun. Yeah. And I moved there, lived with Kristen, which was awesome. And then her career just like, that's when it really started to take off. And then I eventually moved in with Alex Merle. Cause Chris and I had a falling out, and nothing like crazy bad. It was just like, she was just on such a different path, and I felt like I couldn't keep up.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just started to have some differences. And for me, I think, I don't want to say like jealousy, but she just like, she had such a path lit for her. And for me, it got to the point where I was like, well, I need to make some money. I have to work. Like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the exposure and everything she did. So I couldn't just depend on, like, I guess fame at that time.
Right.
So I think she was just soaring, and I feel like I was just kind of like not on that same level. So
That's
Mhm.
hard.
I moved out.
That would be really hard, yeah.
And like it was kind of like she didn't change, I didn't change, but I think we just kind of like at that time we're like outgrowing each other. Like we had been best friends since high school, and I think it was just time for us to have our own space.
You guys were doing
Yeah.
different things. Yeah.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I moved in
That's
with Alex
hard.
Merle. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just being like, especially because you moved to LA like off of the same show, and then things
Mhm.
kind of took off for her, and you were like, well, what am I doing? Like type of thing. So I don't think I could have handled that either at that age. Knowing that somebody was like, especially like, I don't know if you wanted that kind of fame or that kind of like work environment, but like for me, I definitely like, I was always like, I'm gonna be an actress, I'm gonna be famous. So like if I had moved out with somebody and their career took off and mine didn't, I would have been so devastated. So I can imagine how hard that was for you.
Yeah. And it was all those kinds of feelings. Like I didn't know what I wanted, but in my mind, we're on a show and you get like this like recognition. So of course I had moments of thinking like, well, I want to be like famous or something. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but so I think there was probably like, I did have feelings of jealousy, but it wasn't like out of envy that I wasn't like given the same opportunity. I think I was just trying to find like my own path with it. And like being behind Kristen, like in going at the same direction, like I felt like I probably wouldn't have been able to shine, but I mean, she didn't do anything wrong. Like it wasn't anything on her, on me. It just like, I don't know. I think I started to just kind of feel like I was like maybe holding her back in a sense. Like she had always kind of like accommodate me. What I wish I would have done when I moved to LA was just like first like get a job and not be like embarrassed to like go wait tables or go be a hostess or work at a store. Cause in my mind I was like, well, I was just on a show. I don't have to work. I can be, you know, whatever. Cause we were doing appearances and stuff too, which would pay a little bit of money, like not a lot considering, but for that time it was something. But, again, it's all hindsight, but it was it was so much fun. It was just crazy because it was at the times when it was like Lindsay Lohan was at the clubs, Paris Hilton was there. Everyone like we were like 18, 19 years old. It was a really fun time to be there because it was like every night there was a different club to go to. Like I can't even believe we were like that young going out partying, but it was a great opportunity. So it's like no regrets because it's brought me here today. But I definitely would have approached it differently with my mature brain.
I always wondered that on the hills, how you guys were getting into clubs. I'm like, did they just let them in because they knew who they were, or did they all have fake IDs that were really good? Because you're thinking like, I know who this person is and I know how old they are, so wouldn't like the club bouncer know?
I mean, it was a little bit of everything you just said, and just knowing the promoter. You just had to show up with the right people, but there was times too we would go out and get fully denied, like thinking we're hot shit, like walking to the front, like, oh, we were just here, they'll know us, and it's like, no. So that was very humbling, but it's probably different now, but it was fun.
That's awesome. So you guys did that Uncommon James shoot with Kristen last year, and it was so awesome seeing you guys all together again. It was like, oh my god, they all still are friends. It's so great. So what was that like, meeting up with everybody again?
It was so awesome. It was seriously the best ever. The group that Kristen decided to have participate in that was like the best crew possible, because I feel like we all, even like before the show, like we already all had such a good friendship, and it was just nothing but good vibes. And so when we all saw each other, it was like genuine. Like it was genuinely like just nothing but like everyone was so happy to be with one another. And it was so cool that Kristen provided us that opportunity to like bring us together and be a part of that. And the irony too, she kind of referencing like high school, because we filmed it at a high school, and you know, they tried to do it at Laguna Beach High School, but it didn't get approved. So we did the one in LA.
That would have been really cool.
That would have been a trip. But no, it was so fun. And it brought us closer, because we've all kind of stayed in touch loosely, especially with social media. But now, like after that, there's like, we all have a group chat with each other. So we'll chat, and then the girls and I will chat. So it's, it definitely kind of like re-sparked our friendship, and like getting together.
That's so cool.
And we're all like, we all have kids, and we've all like gone our own way, but we just like came together, and it was just like, it's like those friends that you don't see, but as soon as you're together, you're just like it doesn't matter like how much time.
No time has passed. Yeah.
Was it kind of like a high school reunion where you guys like sharing high school stories and like remembering all the times you guys had and all that kind of fun stuff?
Sure. Yeah. And just talking about like the good old like high school days, and then LA days, and just kind of talking about like, oh my god, remember this, and like some juicy stories about who was with who. But it was really fun, because again, we all kind of were and doing this same thing roughly, like even though it was different avenues for everyone, but we all kind of like, we all knew the same people, so we were able to like reference a lot and have good times. That was like mostly what we just talked about, was like memories and good old days.
I just want you to know, now that you said you guys talked about who was hooking up with who, everybody is going to be like, oh my God, who was it? We're all going to be like, we wish we could be a fly on the wall on that photo shoot.
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? Some would know, but it was mostly just like also like ones that you like didn't ever really tell, so you'd like hatch out what? No. But it's like I feel like we could talk about now and just laugh because it's like time's gone by and we're all again like it's not like we're gonna go out and do that nowadays.
Right.
So but it was awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could be on any reality show today, what do you think you would go on? Or like what type? Like a competition or like a housewife show? Or if you weren't married, like a dating show? What do you think?
I would probably want to do more like just reality based. But my life is like so like boring and just like basic, so I don't really know if I have much to offer, but
I feel like you think that, but if you were on a show I would watch.
Oh, totally.
Thank you. But I think it'd be cool like if it was like obviously like girls and drama like Housewives or something.
Yeah, I would love to have seen any of you guys on on Dancing with the Stars or even like Housewives if one of you had ended up on that. Like that would have been so cool to see.
Yes.
I know.
I was always so disappointed that we didn't see any of you guys on the hills. It would have been nice to like see some familiar faces. So I mean I was always bummed out. I would to this day watch a reality show with you guys. Like you guys are the OG. Like, I want to know what's going on with you guys. I kind of wish it had been like a franchise like Teen Mom and it just kind of continued and continued because they're still on TV, and I still follow them. So that would have been really cool for you guys.
Yeah, totally. Maybe there's still a chance. Who knows? I mean, it's crazy how much of an impact Laguna Beach had, that it's still somewhat relevant and people are still referencing it and talking about it. And, it made such an impact being at the time. It was so original in its form. So yeah, I agree. I think if something happened, people would watch, but it's, I think if Kristen, Steven, and Lauren came together and talked to the right people, it would happen. But I feel like there's some probably difference in minds. So who knows?
Yeah.
But
I feel like maybe Kristen and Steven would do it after having done the podcast, but I don't know about Lauren. We'd all love it, but I don't know about her.
Yeah. I think that's probably right. But, but that's why doing this photo shoot with Kristen was so fun, because it was like her people and we're like, hey, this could just be us. Like this group could do something, but maybe something will happen. We'll put it out there.
So if you were offered something, you would say yes.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, for sure. 100%. Awesome. I have like no shame in my game. Yeah. I'm just, I feel like I'm so boring, but no, I would, in a tasteful way. Like not that I would be like a sellout by any means, but I would definitely get involved with something again. 'Cause it's super fun. And I feel like being older and having like a good, strong mindset, I would just like,
you can protect
I wouldn't want to do
yourself
anything that would like be like hurtful to my family or like not something that wouldn't align with me. Like if it was like way out of bounds, like no, but if it was something that I could do and just like showcase like my family or I don't know, be with the crew for sure. 100%.
Okay, MTV.
You're
hearing it.
Make that happen.
I know. I don't even know
Alex
like
H,
what's
the
on
sequel.
MTV. Oh
Yes.
God. Yeah, right? Yay. Just everyone's friend.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what they have. So many shows now. I feel like it's just I have no idea what MTV even is these days. But
I know.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
So we always talk about on the podcast, you guys have the craziest like promposals, like crazy ways to ask people to dances. Do you have a favorite way that you were asked to a school dance, or where you asked the guy, or like your favorite dance that you went to?
Yeah, well, for us, we had a winter formal, and then once you're like a junior and senior, there was prom. I would say the winter formals were super fun, just because it wasn't like it didn't have the pressure of being prom. And I'm pretty sure that winter formal, it was like the girl asks the guy where Prom was like the guy asks the girl.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember how I asked. Like, I can't recall. I might have it all backwards, but my favorite way that I was asked was, well, one was on the show. I think Jessica and I were at like the coffee shop. Yeah. The gorillas.
Yeah.
So that was actually really funny because in the moment we were like genuinely like spooked, but
terrified.
I feel like when it was shown, it was kind of like, what? But and then after that, the same date that asked me to prom, he had came over to my house. I was like at a dentist appointment or something, and then on the bed he wrote like, I don't know if it was flower petals or something, but he had like wrote prom with something, flowers on my bed or something, and that was really cute. And it wasn't shown, but I thought it was really genuine because it wasn't like he just did it for show purposes.
Yeah.
Like he like took the time to do like another way of asking, so that was really sweet. And he was his name was Jeff Clark, and he was a grade below, and he was just so sweet. Like it wasn't really like we were dating, or it wasn't like you know, like that kind of situation for me. I think we did make out that night, but it was Prom, so what did you do? But it was just like, it was really sweet. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's so cool. Well, before we have our last question, do you want to tell everybody where they can follow you if you want to promote anything?
Oh, yeah. Currently I have nothing I'm promoting. Again, I have a very basic life. But my Instagram is at Lala Olsen, LALAOLSEN. I'm pretty not active on there either, but I
That's
try.
okay.
I try to get into it a little bit more often. But you know, for me, I'm just always in full support of like what you guys are doing and keeping the vibe alive. So yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really
Love
appreciate
it.
you guys too and providing this. It's really fun.
Oh my gosh. We're just so happy.
We're just so glad that you came back too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And we are honestly like, we could not have, when we started this, we had no expectations.
No.
So we were like, I started reaching out to the cast and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get any responses. And you guys have all been so nice and so sweet and so accommodating, and I appreciate you guys so much. And you have no idea how much it means to like actual fans of the show to be able to talk to you guys and just like say hi and like get some of the inside tea. Like it's really awesome.
Love that.
So thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
So since we're Millennial TV and we always kind of end off with this last question, what is one thing from the 90s or 2000s that you miss? And it could be anything: fashion, music, pop culture, anything.
A flip phone.
Yeah.
The basic flip phone.
Yep.
Yeah, I still think about that. It was just so nice and easy to just not have it be anything more than that. Yeah. And like what was it, the QWERTY texting or whatever?
Yes.
No,
yeah.
I forget what it was called.
The T9? Was that it?
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I miss being able to slam your phone shut when you're mad at somebody.
Right? And like throw it across the room.
Yep.
I miss that so bad. And then I always think about that scene where you and Kristen show up with your sidekicks.
Oh, yeah.
It was like the changeover. That was like when it happened, like from flip phones to like full keyboards.
That was amazing. I loved the sidekick. That thing was cool. And how you push it and it would like swish it in. And, oh my God. That was
You have no idea. You guys showed up with those and I was like, I need one immediately. Like
I know.
And I'm sure that was the point, but
yeah,
those things were cool. I never got one, but they were cool. I had a BlackBerry though, and that was like my claim to fame. My BlackBerry was my favorite phone
if you
I ever
either had like Sidekick or BlackBerry, and I remember at one point like I wanted a BlackBerry so bad, but I had my Sidekick, and like back then it was like to change plans and buy. But like it was like maybe not. I don't know, but I remember it feeling like impossible. Like you were kind of one or the other.
Yes,
but
Yep.
Yeah, I would still have a BlackBerry to this day if I could. I loved it. That was my favorite phone ever.
Yeah. So I remember do that with the Sidekick.
Yeah, I remember I had my BlackBerry and I went into the store to get another BlackBerry because I was like, I'm not an iPhone person. I want a BlackBerry. And he literally, the Verizon guy told me straight up, he's like, I'm not letting you leave here with the BlackBerry because it's obsolete.
Oh my gosh.
I won't.
No.
And he was like, I can't. He was like, I literally in good conscience can't sell you a BlackBerry.
Oh
And I was
my
like,
gosh.
okay, I'll get an iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah. For a while too, right? Like there was, because the beginning, like the first iPhones, like there was still like flip phones and Blackberries at
Yeah,
that time.
it took a
right?
while.
Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
held
I know.
on really hard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. When my kids grow up, I'm like, can they just have a flip phone? I don't want
For
them
real.
having an
Yeah.
iPhone. But it's nice because you can track them. So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
just
That's true.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
parental
getting my
mode,
kids
da-da-da.
like a smartwatch that
Yeah.
calls, because I
Mhm.
want them
Yes.
to have access to like social
Mhm.
media and like
Right.
like
Mhm.
too young, you know, like I
Yeah.
just like it's
Oh, yeah.
scary these days. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm like, you're getting watches, and then I'll just talk to you about it in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for
Yes,
joining us
thank you.
again.
Yeah. Thank you
yes.
guys.
It was really awesome to get some of that content that we missed. So thank you so much.
Yes.
Yay. Yeah. Perfect. No problem. Thank you again.